Hello YouTube. So today we are kind of installing doors. Uh, these are doors made from scratch, so to speak. They're not pre-hung doors. So I just wanted to take this video, show you how to install the hinges on a door. So here is our project. These are kind of a closet, storage closet I built in my workshop. And this material right there is our door as well as the jamb, so to speak. This is the jamb. So traditionally you'll have a jamb on the interior door. So you're going to want to cut hinge like that, and same way on the door. So speaking of the door, let's come over here. So this is our door. This is a 2x6 feet door. It's a work surface actually, and we're going to use a jig like this in order to cut the recess for mounting this hinge. So this is a standard 3-hole 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch interior door or exterior, it doesn't matter, door hinge with a removable pin, and that's what we're using. For that jig you see right there, there are a lot of jigs available, but this is the one I decided to use. This is a HingeMate 150. It's specifically designed for door hinges, either 3-inch or 3.5 inch, and it can accommodate both the radiuses, 1/4 inch and 5/8 radius. So it comes with two of these plastic templates. You can flip it around to select the radius. So I'm selecting this. Our hinge is a 1/4 inch radius right there. So we're selecting that. There are a couple of notches here. So you kind of put the jig flush against this door surface up to the notch. And there are a couple of pilot holes you drill and then secure them with the screw. The good thing about this kit is it is relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of the Ryobi, the famous ones, and it comes with the router jig, bit as well. So this is the router bit it came with. I'm using on my Ryobi trim router. So we'll kind of show you how we cut it, but essentially, depending on how thick your door is, there is not enough space like a lot of the other expensive jig to kind of have a parking spot for your bit. So the only unfortunate thing about this jig is if your door is thicker, ours is about a 1.25 inch thick, but if it's a traditional slab door, which is going to be about 1.5 inch or more, and in that case you're not going to have a parking spot. So when you start your router, you cannot have this router sitting here. Instead, you're gonna have to start the router up in the air and plunge it in, and that's kind of a little bit dangerous, and it can ruin your workpiece. So that's the only thing bad about this kit. So enough talking, we're gonna start cutting this now. I forgot to mention about how you mark up, right? So what I do is you mark a center of the hinge, and then there's a little notch in the side of the jig, if you can kind of see right there. So you line up your notch, which is the center of the hinge in the jig, with the center of the door where you have center of the hinge marked on the door, and that's your kind of guide. And when you cut the other side, so we're cutting the door side first, and then we're going to transfer these center marks. Well, we're not going to have a center mark at that point, so we're going to transfer the location of the hinges onto the jamb. That's how you kind of transfer so this one we're laying down, like I said, this is 6 feet. So we're putting a hinge at 3 feet and 1 feet off of each side of the door. So that's how we can distribute the weight and keep the door straight. So since we have the fixed door and no jamb, I mean, if you have a jamb, you can kind of cut this outside on the workbench. But since our jamb technically is kind of built in to the wall now, we have no choice but to cut the door hinge in place. So what I've done is I put a little spacer here, which is going to give me clearance to open and close the door. And then I also left about, typically you want to leave about 1 1/8, at least 1/8 gap on the real doors, because your door might move with the seasons and you want enough clearance for it to breathe, so to speak, expand, contract, and not jam on you when it's you know, rainy season. Anyway, so we have about a little over 1/8 of an inch down at the bottom clearance. You want more clearance at bottom because of flooring. Yeah, you know, you might decide to change your flooring someday, and now you don't want to have to cut the door bottom. So leave like on a real door, you want to leave about at least 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch gap. That also will help you with the air movement for your central AC HVAC system. Anyway, without going into detail, what we're going to do is now transfer these marks, the beginning and the end of the jamb, or sorry, the hinge onto the jamb. That's what we're going to do, and then we cut them in place, just like I told you guys. So here we go. That's pretty much all the transfer is done. Now we remove the door and cut the hinge recess. So here we are hanging the door onto the jamb and lining up the hinges to put the hinge pin in. And as you can see, I'm kind of struggling to line up the hinges, and that's mainly because when we transfer the measurement from door to jamb, there are going to be minor measurement errors, and so your hinges on either side of the door and the jamb is not going to line up exactly. So the trick you use is you put the top pin in halfway through, like you see here, and then loosen up the screws on the door side of the hinge, right? You don't want to touch the jamb side of the hinge because that's your kind of load bearing surface. So you loosen up screws, just back out like a couple of turns. You don't have to take out the whole screw out, just a couple of turns back out, and that will give enough play in the other side of the hinge plate that you can actually put the hinge pin in. And then once all the pins are in, you just tighten up all the screws that you backed out, and then you tap the hinge pins back into place for good. And that's the easiest way to align these custom doors onto your jamb. So that's it. So here is the final install. We installed all 4 doors on this thing, and as you can see, kind of opens. And I was talking about the gap. See, this one here is a little bit more gap, a little less, and that's because of the no opening. This one I built it actually, And so see, this one is more, that's less because it's sagging in the middle. So we're gonna try to prop it up. But you wanna, it's important that you provide enough clearance around the door when you hang it, because nothing's gonna be square and level. So thanks for watching.